Like to welcome you to our post-secondary outcomes presentation for those of you in this cohort. We're going to be talking about some resources and processes and things like that, but please do not hesitate to ask questions. You can raise your hand and somebody is monitoring that and they can watch out for it. So we would just like to thank you again for being with us today, and we will get started. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ann. You're looking at the post-secondary outcomes team members. Our team is made up of a good many folks. Nicole is our team lead and will continue acting as our team lead, I believe, until that position is filled now that she is assistant director. So we'll continue to work under her leadership. Carolyn Bostic is a member of post-secondary outcomes, and she is, of course, data and technology lead. Lynette Cox is the ombudsman. Robert Goodlett is with finance. And then there is me. Most of you know me from having been into the districts for program reviews and for Indicator 13 data review. So I will continue to be working with this group. Chris Napier is new to us this fall. He is new from West Virginia. He's brought with him a good bit of knowledge and a different perspective on things. So we're excited to be working with him now. Albert Roman is our IT specialist who saves us many, many times. Every time we run into glitches, he always has a calm voice that reassures us that it'll be okay and then tells us how to fix it. So we appreciate Albert too. Marietta Taylor, who you just heard, has been working with program reviews and Indicator 13 for a while as well. So many of you know her too. And Kim Watkins has been working with the South Carolina High School Credentials. So many of you have known Kim in other capacities before. This is the entire team. Today's presentation will focus mainly on program things and instructional components. So it will be mainly presented by me, by Chris, by Marietta, and by Kim, and the other members of the post-secondary outcomes team will be sharing information and giving you guidance and information throughout the year as things become appropriate for their particular area of expertise. The federal indicators that are linked to post-secondary outcomes are the ones you see: graduation rate, dropout rate, transition, and post-secondary outcomes. That's not surprising. We've been working on those for quite a long time. And there are some other indicators that are aligned to but not directly related to post-secondary, and those include Indicator 3B and then school age LRE. There are a few changes in dropout rate and Indicator 13 for us, which Nicole mentioned, and we'll talk more about the transition changes this at the end of this session. It's not so much changes with Indicator 13 as it's changes in how we are going to address Indicator 13. So we'll get to that at the end. As we in post-secondary outcomes worked with the new system of technical assistance, we wanted to ensure that everything that we provided to you within the area of post-secondary outcome was very consistent, both in the way it was organized in the terminology and in the terminology we used. So whether in the root cause analysis, the essential program components, also in our framework, the terminology is very consistent. So if as you are looking through the information that you've received, you find a term and you want to see what you can find out about it in the other documents, you can use the same term and it should pop right up. If you find as you're using our materials that something is inconsistent or doesn't make sense, if you'll let us know, we will try to keep updating and improving to make this as easy as we can for you to use to locate information for any particular skill area, because we do want first and foremost for you to be able to use the information, use the documents, and work within the system in a most efficient way for you. You know already from information that Nicole has shared previously in directors meetings that you can assess your own program components in each predictor category and program characteristic using the root cause analysis. You can use that for your continuous improvement plan. You can use that to help you internally improve your transition programs. And you can certainly use that in terms of determining the plan that you will need to use when you begin to work within SOTA for real, as it is next year. This year is an optional year as far as submitting everything, but we hope you will consider using that so that you can get familiar with the process and the documents as well. And as you go, should you need any assistance, you can contact the post-secondary outcomes team, and we'll help you all we can. The essential programs components document, back up one time, Marietta, thank you, is something that post-secondary outcomes developed because the predictor categories and the program characteristic areas are fairly broad. And we know that districts sometimes want to know, but what does this mean? What is part of this? What makes up this particular area? So we broke the categories and characteristics down into component skills areas. We recognize that not every transition program in every district needs every single essential program component. It depends largely on the population of your district, the resources that you already have available, and other things you may be struggling to provide to your students. So we hope that you will use the essential program components guidance document just as information as to how you can provide more information, more program components, and more services within your district as you need to. Okay, Marianne. The predictor categories and program characteristics are listed here. The broad categories are career development, policy related to post-secondary outcomes, student skills, and the collaborative systems. Collaborative systems are important in post-secondary outcomes because, as you all know, interagency collaboration becomes critical at that point for many of our students, and then students become much more involved at the post-secondary outcomes age. But today we're going to focus a little bit on career development. The areas that fall within career development are career awareness, occupational courses, work experience, work study, and career and technology education. And again, if you want to know what kinds of skills fall into each of those areas, you can go from the program characteristics to the essential components document, and it will break it down even further for you. So we will talk a little bit specifically about career development as we go further in the presentation today.
All right, let's take a look at the Universal Tier 1 supports. This will be forthcoming, but we wanted to go ahead and give you some prior knowledge. As Ann alluded to, each of the supports has been organized into a spreadsheet by those 4 overarching predictor categories: career development, policy, student skills, collaborative systems, and those program characteristics and supports within each. So we want to improve those post-secondary outcomes. It's important to consider consistent organization and terminology with the root cause analysis and the essentials program document. Where those gaps are in programming might be, this support should allow improvement of those post-secondary outcomes. If we can, we may not be able to look at these particular tier one supports, but we will later on with Chris. He is going to show you an example, as all of this is groundbreaking, brand new information for us. So he is going to share a support a little bit later on. All right, let's take a look at the phases and how you can use Universal Tier 1 supports with your leadership team or your school improvement team. These phases for program improvement should align with the improvement priorities based on the results of the most recent LEA determinations and RCA. First, of course, you want to diagnose. What does the data show? What does the data show us? You want to select those strategies. What strategies will fit those gaps for improvement? Plan for improvement. How will we plan for improvement using those strategies? And of course, implementing the plan, ensuring practice is consistently being implemented, and then monitoring and evaluating. And with any intervention, you want to monitor and analyze the data, and then revise as necessary for momentum and sustainability. Next slide. Phase 1, diagnose. A comprehensive review and analysis of data should be conducted in order to establish a baseline, and that would provide the foundation for understanding of strengths and weaknesses, and the basis for selecting those evidence-based strategies for student improvement. The needs assessment, where the RCA serves as a formative assessment measurement in the school improvement process, and this can provide documented evidence and specific information regarding leadership, teaching, and learning practices in the LEA and SOP. In addition to the review of instructional leadership policies and practices, school climate and community engagement are also analyzed, and this should help a comprehensive picture and clear articulation of those improvement priorities. Phase 2, select strategies. Teams should identify priority areas for improvement based on the needs assessment and establish goals and strategies for those identified priorities. Think about what's most important. What are those most important problems that need to be addressed first? And this will allow you to be able to focus your efforts. And once priorities are identified, the team can work to understand those root causes. Teams will want to select those evidence-based practices to support improvement in those priority areas. Resources can include the IRIS Center Evidence-Based Practice Summaries, of course, What Works Clearinghouse, and the National Center for Intensive Intervention. Next slide. Plan for improvement, phase 3. In collaboration with us here at OCES, we will assist you in developing an action plan to address those established priorities. Established priorities should have a clear and measurable goal with use of evidence-based interventions. For example, if the graduation rate is one of those deficit areas in those LEA determination, you may want to consider attendance. Attendance may be a problem. It may be a consideration as a top priority. The school improvement team should state a goal, having a clear target, indicator, and milestone date. An effective goal is specific, measurable, and realistic, and of course should have a timeline. So an example of an effective goal statement could be increase student attendance rates to 94% per week by December 14th, 2020. So you have your indicator, you have your target, and your timeline. So during this phase, folks should identify those needs for resources and outline that future professional development that may be needed in developing a plan for monitoring implementation of that plan. There are critical things to think about when planning for implementation of an effective plan, such as determining evidence-based strategies to ensure alignment with the assigned intervention, defining ownership, assigning persons responsible for each strategic action, determining if those identified strategies require funding, what the source of funding may be, and how funding can be sustained, defining and providing professional development required to implement each prioritized area for improvement, and determining those structures and systems needed for that sustainability. And of course, we will be able to assist you with that. Phase 4, implement the plan. Strategies identified for each goal in the plan are implemented during this phase. It's important to engage stakeholders, ensuring fidelity of implementation, and using effective systems to support implementation. This is critical. Determine a process for working with stakeholders to support and execute the implementation for those improvement strategies, and identify any behaviors that are necessary for improvement. Determine a process to monitor fidelity of implementation for each improvement strategy, and determine what systems will be used to support that implementation of the plan. And this may be professional development, assistance with analysis of data, and determining those instructional strategies for intervention. Of course, we will provide that support with ongoing fidelity of implementation and provide that TA when necessary. Phase 5, monitor and evaluate. Data are collected on those specific targets established in the action plan and analyzed by you guys to determine progress toward the set targets. Data may indicate progress toward the goal or even lack of progress. If things are going well, stay the course, and if not, of course, adjust. Based on those results, determine to stay the course or to change strategy. And adequate progress likely may mean you don't need to change anything. Progress is being made, but the rate of change is not adequate to ultimately meet the goal. A change in strategy might be needed, and an assessment of the fidelity of implementation may be needed, or in addition to the strategy may be required. LEAs and SOPs that are Tier 2, Tier 3, you'll be required to provide evidence of that rate of progress to assess during that phase, but we will assist you as time moves on. Lastly, Phase 6, revise for momentum or sustainability. Outcomes of the internal analysis of the progress towards set targets in the action plan are examined to determine the success of improvement, activities, programs, and strategies. The focus should be placed on maintenance and sustainability at that point. Based on the outcomes, the plan can be revised, always can be revised, and go back to step 1 if necessary and go through the steps through 5 to ensure continued improvement or to develop that desired momentum. This planning cycle has been described as a series of separate phases, but of course these phases can overlap. All right, I think Chris is going to demonstrate a practical way to use Universal Tier 1 supports.
Before we move forward, does anybody have any questions about what's been given, the information given to you so far? All right.
All right, thank you, Marietta and Kim. And to build off of what Kim was just talking about, we wanted to give you all a hands-on example of what this would look like inside of a classroom by using the post-secondary outcome predictor categories and the program characteristics. So we chose career development and career awareness. And we really want to use this as kind of like a tool in your toolbox and a hands-on situation that your teachers can utilize. So Marietta, you care to go to the next slide for me real fast? Okay, so this is an example lesson plan that we created just to kind of show you what it would look like. And we used our PSO lesson plan goal of career counseling. And the lesson, we just gave it a generic name, what are career clusters, with a duration of 30 minutes. And just to bring in, we can pull this into general ed and to CTE. We went through the South Carolina Department of Education with the South Carolina College and Career Readiness Standards and pulled in some English ELA standards, so ELA 1.1, 2.1, and 3.1, and even gave some dispositions on what we were trying to bring out inside of this lesson plan, such as, and you can read them, some self-awareness, clear and effective communication, social personality, responsibility, self-efficacy, excuse me, and self-control. We also had activity time, so we broke it down. It could be small group or individual. Now highlighted, we have the Universal Tier 1 resources. So these are the resources that we've been talking about, and these are the tools in your toolbox that your teachers can bring back to the classroom and utilize in the classroom. So these are just 3 examples of those Universal Tier 1 resources, such as the South Carolina Department of Education Career Cluster Guide, Career One-Stop site, which is what we're really going to be focusing on today, and of course the Advanced CTE site. So I'm going to share my screen just so you can get a look at what one of these resources look like, and it's the Career One-Stop site. And I'm going to pull that up real fast. Okay, so can you guys see the Career One-Stop website?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect. So this is one of the resources on that Universal Tier 1 support we have. So this lists the 16 career clusters that we have in South Carolina, and they can click on any career cluster. For example, here's agriculture, but we'll do architect and construction. And this gives a virtual job shadowing that the students and the teachers can use inside of the classroom. And as you guys know, with the situation going on, just like Ms. Davis talked about, everybody's lived these 7 months. We know that virtual is very important. So they can click on any job that they would like, such as a carpenter. And it's going to show them the average pay, for what a carpenter would make across the U.S. We specify that is average, that is not starting, where you work at and how many years you work. Determines that. The career outlook, it tells them if it's a bright future or not. This one is. It also shows them the typical training, what kind of education they would need in order to have this job. So we can talk about having a high school diploma and why it's important to graduate in order to have this job. It gives a little video transcript, and then there's usually a 2 to 3 minute video. This one's actually a little less, about what a carpenter does. It talks about the description of what they do, the skills that they need, such as math and physical labor, because, it's important to know what you want to do as a student, but it's also important to know what you don't want to do, because, they may say, well, I don't really like doing that kind of stuff. So it kind of gives them an overview of what they can do. And it's not just for construction. Like I said, you can go into health sciences, and it talks about anything from a biologist all the way down to a cook or an art therapist, whatever there may be in that career cluster. So with that said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and we're going to pull up the PowerPoint again.
Let me know when y'all can see the PowerPoint. It'll still say the how-to example 1. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Okay. If Chris has stopped sharing, we should be able to see it. So I don't know why it's not.
You'll have to reshare your screen.
Gotcha. There we go.
Thank you, Marietta. We can
You
see
should
it
see
now.
it now. Ready to move forward, Chris?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, here we go.
So just you've seen the resource now, so now you can kind of see how this plays into the lesson plan. So we even did some things like work to be completed after class, so the students can access this resource once they leave the classroom, and you can see it. It talks about in the section above, and then it even kind of shows you where they can select one of the career clusters that may interest them and watch at least 3 of those videos. And then we want to do this even after school, when they're in that IEP meeting or meeting with their voc rehab staff, they can discuss those jobs that they saw. We even give an example of a rubric and an assessment that they can use, such as, documenting the 3 clusters to the student. We list some possible accommodations that may be needed for the lesson, and then how to activate that prior knowledge. So ask students how to identify a career field that may interest them, and ask students to identify what they think may have interest them in that particular career or occupational field. So we can move on to the next slide. Following the lesson plan example, we even gave some vocabulary development. So, we're pulling from that ELA class. So these are some key terms that we may have to go over in the class. So occupation, what is a career cluster? So we're introducing the term, discuss what they know about them, and then they can write a simple definition as an individual or in a group. Then we go into the active learning phase, which we've done for 15 minutes. And it's really the meat and taters of the lesson, where they're providing each student with a career cluster handout, and they're kind of going through there and looking through those 16 career clusters with the resource. And then we can go to the last slide, which is about the reflection. We really want them to reflect on the Universal Tier 1 resource, so they're kind of explaining to you how to utilize it, and you're kind of double checking and making sure they know how to utilize it once they leave the classroom. So it's always something that they can go back to and utilize once they leave the class. And don't think that our resources are just limited to this virtual job shadowing. There's things such as resume builders on there, scholarship locators, college information, independent living skills. It teaches them how to write checks, how to utilize an ATM, how to write a bill or anything like that. So, and we're going to cover that in some later examples.
Kim, do you want to go ahead and talk about the other website before we do indicator 13, and we'll save it for the end?
Sure, if we could get it up, that would be great.
Marietta, can you switch that? What we want to do now is let Kim show you the spreadsheet that she referenced as she was discussing her part. We have had a little bit of trouble accessing it this morning, and we don't know exactly why, but eventually we'll get it up there.
And I don't have a spreadsheet from Kim. I was
The
looking
website,
at
the link.
the website link. Okay,
Sure.
that's the one I was looking for.
Okay.
And Marietta, just like before, just pull up the website
Yes.
and share that screen.
Right, I've got to find it again because I closed it thinking we were not going to be able to use it earlier.
Okay.
So give me 1 second and I will get it.
Okay. Any questions about anything so far? What Chris has shown you is, of course, just one example of how you can use some of the resources that we have available for direct instructional purposes. We wanted to make sure that not only did we provide you with lots and lots and lots of resources, but that we did show you in a practical, functional sense what you can do with them. So often we end up with so much information that it becomes sort of overwhelming to us. So we wanted to make it a little more practical, a little more hands-on, so you would know what, when we talk about it, what exactly we're talking about. I see Marietta's face is blinking, so maybe it's going to be coming up in a second.
It's going to be, yeah, it'll be just a second. I was looking for the right link. Lisa, Kim had even sent it to me this morning, so we'd have it. I'd have it at hand, and now I'm having difficulty finding it, and I am so sorry. I just can't find it. Kim, can you?
That's okay. That's okay. If we can't, certainly this will be available to everybody
Wait,
post our session,
see.
post our day.
Can y'all see it now?
No.
No.
All right, give me a second. Then if I go back in and share, I believe I can get it up there now. Yes. For some reason during the break, I had my screen closed down,
There we
and I
go.
do apologize. All right, now
There
y'all
we
can
go.
talk us through it and tell me what you need and where to click.
Okay, well, just kind of scrolling down. This is brand new. We literally have just seen this in the last day or two, but these are just incredible resources. It was certainly by grade level, and of course we're post-secondary, but in middle school is always an area that needs supports. So we're excited about that for the middle school folks, and it can be broken down actually by subject area and by, as you could see, some of the resources, and by focus area. Again, we're post-secondary. There'll be a wealth of information relative to evidence-based practices, modules, resources. And then in the essentials components document that talks about salient transition programming. Also, even in the, okay, thank you. And then it may be in the instruction. Can we go back to the instructions?
Right. Is there anything in this essential components area that you wanted me to pull up? Or not? Not right now?
Probably not right now.
Okay, let's go back to the instructions at the top then. There you go.
Okay, and scroll down a little bit.
All righty, there we go.
Okay, so as we know, teachers are inundated with many, many resources, and they'll be able to go through and check the ones that they like and keep them as their favorites, so they can just go right to it. So we just wanted to share that there are instructions there that will be available to you and your staff. But these resources are great. Just once this becomes live and available for you, which should be at any moment, take some time and go through the resources. I think you'll be very pleased. And they will help you with matching up those gaps with the LEA determinations and with your needs assessment, your RCA, just some more resources.
One of the good things about the saving your favorite resources here is that then that can be shared with other folks via email. So if you find something that you would like for multiple teachers in your district to use, you can share with all of them rather than giving as to how to find it. You can actually just share that link yourself. So we hope that will be simpler, quicker, and easier for folks to locate and share resources than a lot of the other ways that we've all tried before.
Are there any questions about anything so far? Are we ready to go back into indicator
Yep,
to
we'll
talk
go
a little
back
about
to
indicator
indicator
13?
then.
All right, tell me when you can see this screen.
And there we
Yes.
go. This looks familiar, I'm sure, to many of you who have been through Indicator 13 data collection and review before. As Nicole mentioned earlier, it's going to look a little bit different this year. The process is actually going to be the same with a few tweaks. The timeline, of course, is different, and some of the document submission will be different as well. If we look at the timeline, we want to note first, though, that the submission of South Carolina High School credential policies and procedures will not be part of Indicator 13 data collection this year. It will be a separate data collection, and Kim will notify folks about that. And Indicator 13 is compressed a little bit. We are asking that your initial submissions be made by November the 13th, but even that's going to look a little different this year. In the past, you all have uploaded tons of documents into Enrich Central for us to review. And we know that occasionally something will get overlooked, or the document with the wrong date on it will get uploaded, or any number of things. And we know how annoying it's been when we keep coming back to you over and over again to upload one more thing, and let us know when it's there. And it's been very cumbersome for you, very time consuming for you and your staff. So we tried to eliminate that this year. To do that, we are going to ask for access to your Enrich environment via an account username and password that you will set up for us to use here at OSIS as we do the data review for Indicator 13. That can be a temporary username and password that once your Indicator 13 data collection and review process is completed and you have received your verification letter, then you can shut that down again. We don't need access to your URL forever, but we will ask for it for the duration of Indicator 13 data review. And we are going to ask you to also send us the SUNS numbers for the student files that you will want us to review. You've always done that, but this will be the direct route. It will give us what we need to then access your Enrich environment and review those IEPs and any supporting documents that we need, which is usually just the letters and the PWNs, unless there is a consent for an outside agency or something like that. And those are the pieces that typically got not uploaded before, and we're trying to eliminate again some of that. So we will ask that you send us all of that by November the 13th. You will send the username, the password, the Enrich URL, and those SUN numbers to us. You can certainly send the Enrich password in a separate email for security purposes. And you'll send that to us by November the 13th. Then we will review those files between November the 13th or whenever you get them to us and the end of the year. And we will issue you your data review report with any findings of noncompliance the first week in January the 4th through January the 8th. We used to do that right before Christmas holidays, and then we would get calls in January that things had gotten lost or misplaced or just way down the list of emails over the holidays. So we're just going to wait and send it to you when you first come back this year. Again, hoping it'll be a little easier for you to find it. The corrections window is the same as it has always been. You will make corrections to those IEPs between January the 6th or whenever you get them and May the 14th of this year. May the 15th is a Saturday. That's why we've knocked a day off. So you'll have to have them into us by Friday. And then we will review those. Your final due date for the corrections is the 14th, as I said, and we will still have to you your complete review of corrections and verification letters by June the 30th. So the second half of the timeline is unchanged except for the May date, but we are changing the submission process and dates early on. But again, we hope by eliminating all of that uploading on your part, it will save you considerable amount of time. If you will look into the box at the lower left, the document submission, you will see that the document submission is not, you're not really submitting the documents, you're submitting a way for us to view the documents, which is the enrich information and those SUNS numbers. You'll notice though, as Nicole mentioned earlier, that the number of student records we'll be looking at will be different. They are in fact cut in half. If you are a large district, you will only send us SUN numbers for 20 students, medium for 15 students, and small for 10 students. The difference this year will be that we will review and report data for every file, every student record that we look at. In the past, we've reviewed twice as many, and we've tried to find the best however many, and we are going to this year ask you to review or select the student records that you know will be the best representation of Indicator 13 documents in your district. So you will be doing a little bit of previewing of those. In the past, we know some of you have sent us some that you wanted our help in how to explain something so that folks in your district could understand a little more clearly how things for the compliance aspect of Indicator 13 need to be written, to be documented. And we have in the past reported our data federally after the final review of corrections, and we have been told we can't do that anymore, so we must report initial findings as soon as they are made as findings. So we are asking you to upfront do a little bit of review on your own so that the information we get when we review the student records will be the best information that we have and the best data that we have. It will look a little different this year, we know, and again, don't be alarmed by that because we are making a change and we're making the change for everybody. So we'll make sure that that's explained as we do our data reporting. So again, the number of records is cut in half and you don't have to upload anymore. We hope that will make this much easier for you as we move forward. And this year, the process looks very much like it always has. There will be some changes next year. If you are one of the districts that will be involved in the Indicator 13 data collection and review process this year, you will get an email from Mary tomorrow, or tomorrow, Friday, and it will include this chart again and any specific instructions we have for who to send that information to a little closer. So you will get all that information tomorrow, and you will know that you are an Indicator 13 data collection and review district this year. It should be the same folks that were in year 2 of the cycle the last time, and you already had that information. So most of you already know. If we look at the corrective activities, back it up for just a minute, Marietta. The corrective activities are unchanged. If you are 100% compliant when we do our initial review this year, of course, you don't have any corrective activities to do. If you fall into the 80 to 99% range of compliance, then all you have to do is make the corrections, because if you are that high, we know that you have substantial understanding of what should be there, and for the most part you do it, and there were just a few mistakes made. So all you have to do is correct those through an IEP amendment, unless you choose to do a new full review. If you fall into the 30 to 79% range of compliance, then you must, of course, correct the IEPs, and you also need to provide evidence that all the staff who prepare Indicator 13 documents have participated in some virtual professional learning opportunity. Typically, that is our online module. If for some reason you feel like you need a more focused virtual professional learning opportunity, something more targeted, if you see a particular area of concern within your district, then you can get a hold of us, of course, and we will tailor it to what your needs are. But you will need to do the correction and evidence of that virtual training opportunity. We say all staff who prepare Indicator 13 documents. Please understand that includes all of your related service providers as well as the special ed teachers who are the case managers. Because when you have multiple people participating in developing the same IEP, sometimes we see that parts of it are written one way and are very clear, and then other parts are not. And very often that depends on which service provider actually completed which part. And we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate in the professional learning opportunity so that we do get it right. If you should fall into the 0 or 29% compliance range, then you have to do the same things that everybody else had to do. You have to correct those IEPs and complete the virtual training opportunity. But you also have designated staff, the ones who need it the most, to participate in some OSIS approved targeted professional learning opportunity. And that would be specifically focused on what area your district needs are based on the review of the student records. Are there any questions about the process? The process itself, as I said, is very similar to what it has always been, except for the submission process and the number of student records. Okay, now go to the next slide, Miriam. And this is who we're going to be looking for. If you are in one of these districts, you should expect an email from us tomorrow. If we've made a mistake and you were reviewed this year or something, you just let us know it and we will make whatever adjustments we need to make. We think we got it right, but we'll be happy to check for you just in case. Any questions about any of those? Okay, Maria, next slide. Or yeah. We do want you to know, though, that we will be here to help you any way we can. All of Post-Secondary Outcomes team will be available to you, and we will all be collaborating and contributing to whatever types of support you need. Anything that is related to post-school outcomes, post-secondary outcomes, we will be happy to help you address. And we have a new email address that you can use. It's right here, Special Education Services, PSO@ed.sc.gov. If you send a question or a document or anything to that email address, it will come to all members of the Post-Secondary Outcomes team so that everyone will see it. It will not be as likely to slip down in someone's email and get overlooked. We will have many sets of eyes looking at it, and then we will collaborate and get back to you as quickly as we can with an agreed upon response. And hopefully that will help you and be much easier for you as well. If you lose that email address or you have a specific question about a specific something and you have one of our individual emails, certainly go ahead and use that if you need to, and we will share it with post-secondary team to make sure that everyone is giving input into whatever questions you have for us. We want to do as much as we can to help you. We understand that the processes look a little different and are going to look a little different. But again, we hope once we all get used to it, it is going to be much simpler for you and much easier, much more functional for you. And that is our goal in all this. Any questions about anything else? Because we have about a minute and a half. Okay, Albert, you want to tell us what we do next?
Before we move on, Brian Greason, I was able to pull up Teams actually and on my phone and monitor the chat. I'm glad I found out how to do that. He wanted to know if how to access the locator, the resources locator, and I wasn't sure. Has that been made public, and can we give them that? Can we give them that link for that resource?
It wasn't posted on our website this morning when I looked, but it should be at any moment, I think.
Yeah, my understanding is it will be available, but it is not yet available.
Okay. I just wondered if the link we have is already available, if it could be sent out. If it is, we could probably put it into the email or something tomorrow. That was my question. Thank you.
We will ask, and if we can, we will. And if not, we'll send it out as soon as it is made public, as soon as it's posted for the public.
All righty.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Unless you have more questions, we won't hold you up. You'll have a
Well-
little extra time for lunch here.
Well, it's 11:30 and that's when we were supposed to be through, but let's
Oh,
let
it
Albert,
is.
tell us all what we need to do now. Keep
Yes,
us straight.
Thank you for your continued patience, first of all. At this point, we will commence the lunch hour. So lunch will begin now, and the next presenters will show up in your group at approximately 12:45 p.m. So again, all attendees, please stay in this group, and your presenters will come to you. So at this point, we will be starting lunch and reconvening at 12:45. The PSO group will be migrating now to group 2.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody.